Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of the X Button, Season 3, Episode 15. I'm your host, Alejandro, and with me is the new foundling, Din Paul.
I was shocked to find out that Din was actually his last name this whole time.
Yeah, I'm like stupefied. Like, obviously we're talking about the Mandalorian Season 3 finale that just aired yesterday. I'm like,
Yep.
So Jarring is not the... So Din Jarring was never the name, huh? So yeah, apparently he was only called Jarring?
Well, I guess it was Jaren, and then it was a family name.
Mhm.
So I think that was already his name. He just became a foundling separately from all of that. Honestly, they play a little fast and loose with the Mandalorian mythology. I don't talk about it much, but I'm a bit of a scholar, at least pre Disney purchase, on what the Mandalorians were all about.
Yeah, and that doesn't matter because all of that got like kicked into the curb.
It doesn't. It makes me very frustrated sometimes because I'm like, wait, that's not how. Oh yeah, I can't say anything anymore.
Yeah, no, that was like the big point of contention with Luke, like because everyone had that image of like the Luke we got in the EU, and then seeing the one that they put in the movie just didn't compute. Even though like the movies made it like an in joke of everyone thinking Luke was that when Luke was not that. That was kind of like something that I thought was clever about the very hated 8th movie. But yeah, so real quick, because we never talk about TV shows, like overall, what's your like big take on Mandalorian Season 3 since it's over?
I mean, based on my reactions to you, it was like pure hype watching that finale, but also the concerns are obviously there. Where, just like you said, it felt like they filled an entire seasons of plot into the last 2 episodes, and everything else was a bit of a side quest or focusing on a different angle that was building up to it. Or in the 3rd episode, where they just wasted about 60 minutes of our time for nothing to either put in a different show or a new season of something else that just bugs me. Yeah, that was weird. But anyway, on the positive side, it was super cool. And I'm trying to not spoil things, but like certain armies are involved in watching the armies come at each other with the big swelling music and all of the crazy ways you use combat in a unique method with a jetpack was just pure hype injected into my veins, alongside the catharsis of a lot of character points. Yeah. And just some really good action as well. So thumbs up for me overall, but also there was like, it's kind of dumb in some areas.
Yeah.
But yeah, what you got?
Yeah, to me is I think this was not a great season of The Mandalorian. I would argue it's the weakest from a Din and Grogu perspective. Our 2 poor protagonists got like pushed to the side for like almost an entire season until they got like a pretty big focus on the finale. However, I thought this was a great Star Wars season. All like that, because I keep thinking about the hype moments of so many episodes this season that I'm like, yeah, that was like pure joyful Star Wars. And to me, like what I'm gonna remember the most about this season is just like that tiny moment that redeemed our buddy Ahmed Best, like in the eyes of so many like Star Wars fans. True. And like especially the TikTok beauties that I saw, that is saying if everyone like splicing the like his interviews or him saying that he was like he was almost on suicide watch because of all of the abuse he got as Jar Jar, and him getting that opportunity in the show is probably the thing that stands out the most like this year of what it did for just Star Wars in general. But so yeah, it's like I loved it, but I also thought it was like my least favorite season. It's so funny, but it's like even though it was my least favorite, I still love the show. It's like I've seen so many shows that when they have like a downturn in quality, I feel like more depressed, but I'm like, it's so weird that I'm feeling both things at the same time, but I feel I have a reawakening of Star Wars love right now. That
I want to add one other thing as well that I was just thinking about. So you and I, being children of the 90s, have a very specific relationship with Ahmed Best. But imagine, if you will, you're a child who grew up watching the Star Wars Disney game show with him as that Jedi Master, being like, that's so cool, and like apparently it's a very beloved show for kids and stuff,
especially during the pandemic. That launched during the pandemic.
His character showing up, if you like grow up a little and watch The Mandalorian, and be like, you're the one that saves Grogu. I just picture, like, I'm trying to think of anybody from our childhood that would apply to that situation, but I can imagine the levels of hype that a child would get. And just all around great time, makes me happy, and that's all that I really need
Yeah,
sometimes.
I feel like it just kind of like put a like just appeared on this non-gaming Star Wars conversation. I feel like I'm
Yeah,
just so happy that us that grew up in the prequel era when we were kids are like at such an adult stage now, where so many people that worked on those movies that got so much hate from the boomers that grew up on the original trilogy and saw those movies as no, my Star Wars, and them thinking that it was just like this universally hated thing because that wasn't hyperbole, that was a Star Wars. And
yeah,
like just seeing the videos of the celebration, like everyone just like cheering for almost everyone, like the just the videos of Hayden Christensen coming in,
yeah.
and everyone just cheering on him, on so many people, including like Ahmed Best, like seeing just the love that he got from that episode. I'm like, I'm
Mm,
glad that now they know that the people that grew up in these movies that didn't see them through the critical like comparison that they were being seen at the time, like they get to see that there were people that loved them. Maybe the
yeah.
sequel trilogy eventually will get there in 3 decades time. I still
I
feel like
mean,
yeah.
I think that we might be able to get there sooner, especially if the way that things have been planned out with the next, what was it, like 2 or 3 years?
Mm-hmm,
I can't remember, but with the whole Daisy Ridley and that whole crew kind
mm-hmm.
of returning to reprise some of their roles.
Yeah, just they still really
I can see it.
confirmed, and also everything that's been happening in the Mandoverse
Mm,
is literally trying to make sense of the incoherence of that sequel trilogy. So it's like Dave Filoni once again like coming in and and making lemons out of like rotten lemonade. So, or the opposite, just
He's,
making
he's
lemonade.
going
Yeah.
a little backwards with
Yes.
it, but he's making it better. It
I
seems.
know. Exactly. So we're making lemonade out of rotten lemons.
There it is.
So
That's the one.
yeah, but yeah. So I'm still like, I feel glad to be excited about Star Wars. I tell you, especially what's coming out next week. So, but enough of that, because this is not just a Star Wars show. This is the X Bottom podcast, or gaming podcast that posts every Fridays from 2 p.m. onwards, God willing. Available on the YouTube channel Escape Gaming, as well as most audio services around the world, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the like. You can find links at the RSS feed at anchor.fm/escape-gaming. If you enjoy our show, give us a like and subscribe. So, time to talk about the games that we've been playing, Paul. I tell you, I have not been playing much of notice. I'll just jump in real quick. Horizon
Yeah.
Forbidden West Burning Shores came out yesterday. The DLC for Forbidden West, a game that I was very high on last year, like as we were going into it. And I'll just say this real quick. After just playing just like an hour or two with Burning Shores, I went back to play a bunch of Star Wars games. So that should tell you a little bit about how I'm feeling about that DLC. It's not bad. It's more Horizon. I'll just say that this is the kind of DLC that assumes that you have just been playing Horizon, because it's not gonna reacclimate you at all with like the complexities of that game. And I tell you, like, I
A lot
understand.
of it.
Yeah, I understand now why it took you 5 years to finish that damn game, the first game, because this is not a franchise that's easy to just pick back up. There's just something about the feel of the combat and the different nuances of the different bows and the Dead Space, like you have to aim specific parts of a robot for the damage to like actually hit, instead of, because if it's a game that you're just shooting for the sake of shooting, it sucks. Like it just feels bad, especially for the single shot weapon style of combat that Horizon has, which is exciting when like it clicks for you, but I was like, oh man, it's like this. Woof. I'm like, I'm struggling here, because they throw you down the deep end immediately to find some big dinosaurs. I was like, okay. And then I was like, yeah, I'm not. It's like, it's more, I feel eventually like I'm gonna be in the mood to like be back into this. But if you haven't been feeling the Horizon itch, it's just more of that. So take it or leave it. That's what, like, I know for you, Paul, is like, I know how Horizon is kind of like, I mean, you hate women, but that's like besides the point. But it's like I know that's just a franchise that always is like, it's just struggle with it, even like
Yeah.
even in the moments that I know you like it finally clicked for you, because I feel like Forbidden West did that more to you than the original
Definitely.
one. But
Especially like the last arc for sure.
yeah, and this is building more. Like this is building beyond that. Like the last arc, that was like very exciting about the story, which I already mentioned that I feel the story overall of Forbidden West is slightly weaker than Zero Dawn, because it didn't have that personal connection of the original. Like you feel Aloy feels more incidental, like Mandalorian in season 3, like to like everything that's kind of happening in the world, but the world building got better. So this is definitely world building more the future people that we see like near the end of that first game. Spoilers. And there's like a cool new character that was added, which you're probably are gonna be seeing a bunch of spoilers about about this DLC for Forbidden West in the internet, because there's some incels that are like a little triggered about what you do with that character. But not to mention much of that. It's like it's more Horizon, and I am just feeling that maybe Horizon is just not gonna be this super amazing series that I want it to be, because it just keeps coming out at the wrong time, I feel like. So even this DLC, but hey, it's like it's still more. Like if you want more of that, it's like definitely play more of that. I'm gonna wait because I've just been playing a bunch of Star Wars play. Like the Star Wars addiction has been just too addicting just over this past week. Like Jedi Fallen Order, platinuming it, is like send me back down the rabbit hole of going back to play Jedi Outcast, then jumping to play the 360 version of The Force Unleashed, play the Battlefront 2005 Xbox version that I have on Xbox. I even went and bought the Revenge of the Sith video game that was also on Xbox and PS2. It's backwards compatible. It was like $5 today. I bought it today. I played that a little bit. It's like I've just been kind of like just stuffing myself with Star Wars because we have the big thing coming next week. So it feels good. Like my love has been reawakened. So you tell me what you've been playing.
Oh well, I have to eat a little bit, tiny little bit of Crow, because my first game is Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I felt like this weird urge to play something sort of open world with like modern weaponry, and I was like, all right, what
no
kind
women
of plays in like oh stop it. Well, I was like, what kind of fits that feeling, because I'm playing a lot of different kind of stuff. I don't want to like get too far into these other things, because I also downloaded Ghost of Tsushima. Still debating if I want to continue playing that. I played literally about 5 to 10 seconds of that game, messed around with the armors and the colors again, and I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be really fun. And then I took about 3 steps and went, I'm gonna play something different now. So
I know that feeling real well. That was kind of me with Horizon, but just after an hour, I was like,
you know what I think really bugs me about it actually is the fact that your options are that I had a previous save, which of course 0 momentum, not going to go well. But the problem is to start a new game is either you start purely new with nothing and you have to start all over again, or you do a new game plus where you have all your vanity items, all your upgrades and things, but it doesn't start you at the start of the game. It skips the really cool intro with the charge and the surviving the battle. It just starts you after that. So I'm like, I don't want to miss this really good story moment again, but I don't want to start over from nothing. And then I got like analysis paralysis, and I was just like, I'm just going to play a different game now. That's my answer to this.
And let me ask, is this because the game we really want to play is like so close and we're just trying to like kill time? I feel that. I'm feeling that decision paralysis. That's kind of why I'm always scared of like beating the games that come out in a given year. Like we've done basically, like especially since we both dropped Atomic Heart, like all like the big games that I wanted to play that have come out so far, I'm done with them. So now I'm like just like twiddling on my thumbs, like trying to go back and trying to feel feelings. So it's like, especially with being so close, and we're just like a week away. We're 8 days away, technically 7. So
I'm so ready for Jedi Survivor. I just went back and rewatched the final release trailer. It was like Game Ranks' 10 things you need to know, which I didn't actually know. There was a couple of them that I couldn't remember, like little details from interviews that somebody said here and there.
Which, by the way, so we're talking about Fallen Order a little bit. Our buddy Sebastian, he invited me over to his show, The Single Player Experience.
Oh yeah.
To talk about Jedi Fallen Order, kind of like a tiny little bit of a spoiler cast, or more like a discussion of talking about that game from a 2023 context, and if people should play it now, and it should be available anytime now. Like I usually don't know when he would post it, but I know he wanted to post it kind of like to synergize with the release of Survivor. So if that is like available, I'm gonna link it in our show. So
cool. But yeah, as far as actually getting onto what I was talking about, basically, I ended up falling down this rabbit hole where I had already gotten most of the options pretty dialed in because now they've added, as people know, they took out the um, weird looter shooter elements of it as an option. They let you cut down the stupidly cluttered UI, or
Have
HUD
AI
rather.
with you.
Yes, you can have AI now. I can't believe that wasn't a launch feature. It's so dumb. Oh, but yeah, I'm
Because
not gonna get into details.
they wanted to make this the Division again the same year
Yeah.
that the Division launched. That's why this game was so lambasted back in
And there's
2019.
still like certain vanity items locked behind doing their raid boss essentially, and I was just like, this is crap. But to its credit, all of the stuff that's been severely discounted, excuse me, up until now was like the plot of the Sam Fisher storyline, the Terminator storyline, which gives you like a really cool sci-fi-ish rifle, all sorts of other things going on. Essentially, they did like a Lara Croft brief, not really DLC, but it was like, hey, you get her gun and her tank top or whatever. And then now they're doing something called Operation Motherland, which adds another island, I think. And it's like a conquest mode where they give you these really unique mission types of like, there's hostages, you have to extract them, you have to kill this enemy. It's not just like the basic things that were in the main game. It was like, all right, you got to actually do some extra steps for this. Like, there's a random enemy you have to pull out of there without killing them.
Does it still have the survival mechanics?
It can, but you can turn them off in the
Okay.
options. So like the
Beautiful.
stamina, you can completely remove that from going down and having to drink water to get it back. I did a few things to make it easier, like I took one of the weapons away, so you just have a main rifle and your pistol, because I felt like it was weird that you get two giant rifles on your back at all times. Excuse me. I know you can change like the color of any vanity item now, which was for whatever reason not an option, which it was in Wildlands. Just adding quality of life in just about every way to the point where now you can just walk in, kind of do a military Sims SOCOM Navy SEAL style thing, and that's all I really need. So I was happy. But yeah, besides that, I played Elite Dangerous a lot until all of a sudden I found out that they completely stopped support
The console version.
for the console version as far as content goes. They're going to keep it running. They're going to keep it like not crashing and doing dumb stuff, but they're just not going to add anything to it, which broke my heart because I was really hoping that they would kind of eventually give us the Odyssey expansion, which added the first-person shooter elements and some extra stuff to it, alongside building out the horizons, which gave you surfaces of planets and stuff. Still a really fun game, and it's a little bit more simulation than No Man's Sky, which is what I like. No Man's Sky is great for all the exploration side of it, but there's just like a little bit of a glossing over of detail that I really want to get into sometimes, especially for the landing, the taking off, and all of the cool mechanical stuff from all those ships. So yeah, it was fun, but who knows how long I'll play it. And then, of course, we did some Destiny 2 raids.
Which, by the way,
and that's it.
you did the raid for Destiny 2 because we
did.
When Duncan was here last week, we promised we were gonna take you through the raid.
That's right.
Day.
So yeah, I can briefly talk about the experience of that, which was pretty fun, all things considered. I appreciate how short it was. It was gorgeous to look at. I'm glad that it was fairly simple, especially after Vow the Disciple, which I thought was just a little bit too far on the other side of it.
It was. I make the joke that Vow the Disciple's mechanics is basically midterm exam.
Yeah,
because you have to remember the symbols and the names.
You have to gather up together. You have to remember all of that. You have to agree on the terminology, and then you have to move like a well-oiled machine. And when it works, it's fantastic. But it's on another level that I don't think a lot of Destiny players really want to deal with. And I'm kind of curious on what the most played raids are.
Right now, currently, this one is. Because of how simple it is. And before,
I mean, that doesn't shock me at all.
And before that was Deepstone Crypt. These are the two raids that are like very contentious with the hardcore players because you know how the hardcore players like to gatekeep and talk about kind of like how prestigious this event should be and there shouldn't be this many completions. And I'm like, who cares? Like,
yeah. That
I
sounds
feel
like all the people that were complaining about Dark Souls back in the day. They were like, there shouldn't be that many completions. It needs to be an achievement because the reality is that you need the validation
yeah,
to feel like a special boy.
it's just little dick energy, and I'm like, who
Yeah.
cares? Because of how easy Ron is, Root of Nightmares. It's like it's one that if someone asks in the clan, hey, want to do a run? I'm like, yeah, let's do it because I know it's gonna be like a quick commitment, and
Yeah.
usually I take the lazy route and just I'm on ad clear. One of the recent runs, I finally learned the mechanics of the third room, the one with the planets. So
Yeah.
it wasn't as complicated as I thought it was gonna be. Like the only thing that I still don't know to do is that mechanic of deconnecting. Like how do you have to keep doing it to be able to connect? That's something I still haven't attempted, and maybe one day I will, just in case. Like because we usually leave Duncan and our buddy Spartan to do that, or Fire be the ones that connect the dots. One day we're gonna raid without them, and I might as well like.
I've considered all of that where I'm like, I'm gonna need to learn the mechanics for some of this one day because I can't keep relying on the same two people to just know what to do half the time.
Yeah.
Um,
But it
and
feels
at
like
least
so easy. It feels so easy to learn that I'm like, I don't mind like eventually learning it. I don't mind, like I still know how to do Vow. The thing is that everyone has to be like in the same mindset. In fact, like this happened a few weeks when you were in your caveman like exile. We completed a run and then we did a Vow in less than an hour. Somehow everything clicked for an entire group. It was
holy crap.
It was me, Duncan, Fire, Spartan, Mano, and Guns. That was our team, and we did it. We were like, because it is that stupid third encounter. It's always kind of like where you stonewall. Like if something messes up in that one, it's like you either finish there or that's where you're gonna do a checkpoint to come back later. We did it in one try, so we're like, wait, we did it in one try, and then we went to do Rolk and we did it. Like it was like such a high, and I got the exotic drop on me again, which it was so funny.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that the freaking pulse rifle.
Don't you ever give me crap about getting an exotic again.
It's like the only time. Like I always give you crap because remember it took me 33 runs to get Dex Mythic class. So that's why I'm always like gonna be salty if everyone else that gets
it's
that.
It's so funny because I don't even care about the exotic for any of that. I just want some of the raid loot to look cool, and I want some of the guns to be craftable.
Yeah.
And
this new raid does that.
How long it takes for a lot of it, but I do appreciate the way they're starting to cut down on that. I think at least for Ritual. I keep wanting to say Ritual of the Night, which is a freaking Castlevania game. Root of Nightmares. Dang it! It always makes me.
Ritual of the
Anyway. It's not even that important anymore.
I mean, do you like how the weapons look? I assume that's what you were trying to get in that fog of your brain.
I appreciate how it's more of a streamlined process now because Root of Nightmares is actually small enough that you can like kind of keep the ball running and make that process easier to get the deep sight weapons because it's such a pain in the butt to get the deep sight weapons for what you need.
Usually a guarantee at the end of the raid, and sometimes the raid can be really long or super short to get that. In this case, super short.
Exactly. So that's what I was trying to get at. For the most part, I like the way they look. Some of them are a little wacky looking, but
yeah. Now, real quick, have you played this week? Like this actual week, like after reset?
I played a tiny amount. I watched a video explaining all of the really messed up stuff that went down. Because apparently they came back and said that was all intentional and they just stealth nerfed a crap ton of stuff.
Yeah,
and
that like I was so excited for this patch because it was the mid-season weapon buff where finally so many weapons were gonna start to feel good again, especially when you run in New Moon and some of those enemies are such like spongy enemies because they decided to make patrols in that place like so hard that unless you were running like with an Osteus Striga or maybe like an Outbreak Perfector, an exotic basically, primary, like killing ads felt bad in New Muna. And they intentionally were gonna buff a bunch of weapons because only one legendary was feeling good, and that was SMGs. I tested it a little bit. I did the final mission for the season, which was okay. It was very anticlimactic, all things considered, considering the big story developments. But the combination of the secret nerfs and the things that broke, like with this patch, was finally that's one F up too many for me. Where it was like, my excitement to play this game has vanished. Like, completely. I'm only gonna be playing this when we get a call for a raid. But I feel like I'm like a broken record when I say this. It's a game we love and hate at the same time, but then at the same time I feel like now we're reaching the point that then insisting to keep the same technology with this game is like, this is beyond just trying to keep a bag of crap together with duct tape. Like, the actual crap is like bursting at the seams all the time. That everything feels like it breaks every time that they update something, and it makes me like, it blows my mind that they just absolutely don't address the fact that their game is currently broken, like as is. Like, the launch of Lightfall came in with a bunch of buggy stuff. Like, the Quicksilver Exotic was broken for like a month. Like, the $100 pre-order weapon that you would get was like that. It lost its 40% buff. It was like weaker than other things for a while. And I'm like, at a certain point, they should like see that their technology is just not viable anymore. Also, drop the fucking last gen versions. It's over. It's like, those things are holding us back. So just drop them, because it's like, it's hindering this game, especially when you combine the things that are broken, and then we see like, no, we intentionally we forgot to mention we're gonna nerf that stuff. It's like, that's shitty. That feels absolutely shitty, especially because they target the things that make the game fun. It's like, oh yeah, we're gonna like work so hard to like prevent like the actual fun stuff of this game to shine through. But a bunch of stuff that has been broken for a while, we're gonna take forever to do that. It's like their priorities are all jacked up, that I'm like, I feel it's like, I've been like swallowing this for like so many years now that I'm like, I'm done. It's like, I'm only gonna be doing the raid because I want the raid exotic, but I don't want to play this game right now. It's like, I was already content complete with that, but after I was feeling the game was in such a good spot that I could keep playing it just like casually, because they lifted they did some great quality of life. It's just that the underlying systems of it are finally at a spot where I'm like, I finally reached that season of the blunder point that we reached last year, where I'm like, yeah, I don't want to keep playing this right now. It's like, good thing the raid is short, because that's the one thing that's gonna keep pushing me back in, and maybe some of the dungeons, because I hope you eventually get Winter Bite. It sucks that you have to like keep track of do a quest step that you have to do in the span of 3 days, but it's just so funny melting bosses with that freaking glaive. But yeah, it's just like, it's just too much now. Like, I need a fresh start with this franchise. It's like, they need better technology. It's like, it just, at a certain point, it's like, you can't keep expecting to just keep trying to fix a broken mess over and over and over again, and not have people like fed up. Like, the fact that people are getting banned from PvP just for like exiting the commendation screen was like, come on, this is just way too much at this point. It's like, something's gotta give. So yeah, Destiny has just become a raid game for me at this point. Let's see how it is next season. So
yeah, I don't really have too much to add to that either. I am disappointed by the way things kind of turned out. I still want to try more of what's going on, but it's a shame that, like, as me trying to catch up after like a month and a half, all of a sudden the builds that I wanted to play are either nerfed into the ground, or I have to rethink it. I can't look at any of the
or wait like 3 or 4 weeks for them to fix it, because it's like, they're like things that should be fixed don't happen quick, and that sucks. Like, to me, like, I was doing orb generation, like somehow like those mods got borked, and I'm like, come on. It's like, I was trying to do a Master Law sector to try to keep doing my my Guardian ranks, because I was like, I'll try it, and when then I was like, I'm doing my melee, why the frick are my orbs not popping? I literally was like that. I was like, and then reading that, I was like, no, it's over. Yeah, I'm done. I was like, I can't keep like giving my time to a game that refuses to fix itself in the ways that they need to fix. It's like, and I given them many for many years. So can't wait for Star Wars. Enough of that, Paul. So not too many. This is weird. It's like, we're like so close to a celebratory 100th episode for us. It feels like all important stories are kind of like just banished. It feels like everything is just kind of like in a holding pattern, that I'm like, yeah, I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel to find stuff to talk about. So we only have a few things. So press X.
Or some news.
story number 1, Paul. So this is a story by Jordan Miller from BGC. Sony has acquired Firewalk Studios, the 20th member of the PlayStation Studios family. The developer, which was part of an independent game company, Probably Monsters, was already working in partnership with PlayStation and a yet unannounced multiplayer IP, and will now be fully acquired by the console maker. The studio shares our passion for creating inspiring worlds grounded in exceptional gameplay, and we want to continue to invest in their mission, PlayStation Studios head Herman Holst said in a statement. We're excited for Firewalk to bring their technical and creative expertise to PlayStation Studios to help grow our live service operations and deliver something truly special for gamers. He added, we're thrilled to expand upon our collaborative relationship with Firewalk Studios and formally welcome the team to PlayStation Studios. We've had the privilege of working with Probably Monsters and Firewalk for several years, and our teams share the same ambition to create meaningful experience for gamers. Firewalk's innovative approach to connected storytelling and its commitment to high-quality gameplay continues to exceed our expectations. I think fans will be very pleased when they see what Firewalk has in store for them. The company, which has yet to release a game, was founded in 2018. So,
for me, this is one of those good for them kind of things, and I'm like, all right, well, make a game and then I'll get excited.
Yeah, that's kind of like what's been funny about the way that now Sony has completely gone against their established modus operandi of how they used to do acquisitions. This is the second time third time now that they've gone against like how it used to work for them. First, work with the studio, have an exclusive or a couple exclusives working together, but not as an owned entity to see that the things are really working, and then they would put their ring on it. Thanks to the perpetual like acquisition that thank God we're not going to talk about this week, in the consolidation era we're leading on now, we're seeing like Sony now completely foregoing that organic growth, which many people used to defend. It's like the way Microsoft is acquiring everyone, it's like so hollow, because it's like they're just acquiring anything because they have the money. So the way Sony does it is the best way because it's organic. Yeah, it's like the Bungie acquisition, the Haven acquisition, and this acquisition is like as far away as organic as possible, especially because these come with like the announcement of what the F are they working on. It's like, what is the game? Like, it's very hard to like get excited about this, and it's just seeing industry consolidation happening like over and over and over again, and that's sad because it's like, is this how it's gonna be with any independent studio that's out there? It's like everyone's just off to swallow everything like the freaking Disneys of the world. So, and it's still funny that Sony, this will be just their 20th studio. Right now, Microsoft owns 23 after they absorb Bethesda, and they're gonna have like 30 plus when the Activision deal finally closes. Which it seems like it's getting close. It seems like it's getting close. Apparently, the UK over the CMA of the UK is gonna give their final like word on April 26th, and then the EU will say their final word on May. If those two clear, I bet you they're gonna close the deal. Even with the FTC wanting to sue them on grounds that are a little shaky, that they don't make sense. The things that they're trying to sue Microsoft for acquiring this in a way that actually makes sense, that they would win. So they're just kind of like delaying the process. So I can't wait, because it feels like that has just absorbed so much oxygen. But hey, I mean, PlayStation getting another studio, and to me it's like, until we start hearing about games, I don't care. But this was the news today. So, in other news that it's quite impressive, but I hate. Story number 2, also from BGC. Story by Tom Ivan. US PS5 sales are now tracking ahead of PS4s on a time-aligned basis. That's according to Matt Piscatell, Executive Director and Video Game Industry Analyst at Circana, formerly NPD Group, which, funny enough, like the NPD Group is done. They changed the name to Circana for some reason, but they're still, they're still like the ones that are doing the same work of like getting.
Wasn't the NPD was an acronym though, wasn't it?
Something, I don't know what it was for, but NPD, for people that are just listening right now, the NPD Group is basically the organization that tracks every sales, all like the minute details of any sales data for any product being sold in the United States. And very notable for like gaming, because that's through the NPD Group is how we know what were the top 20 best-selling games in a given month, and we usually get that in for the 15th of a month. So now it's called Circana. So continuing the story, in the company's latest monthly sales report, which was published on Wednesday, Piscatella noted that PS5 unit sales are now tracking ahead of PS4s after the first 29 months on the market for both consoles. Boosted by increased stock and recent price promotions, PS5 is the best-selling console in units and dollars for both March and 2023 year-to-date. Last month, Circana reported that PS5 sales had reached a record high for any PlayStation system in the month of February. And according to Piscatella, PS5 also set a new March individual PlayStation platform unit record. Sony recently said it expects PS5 to smash PS4's global sales record for the first 3 months of a calendar year. Circana also said today that Resident Evil 4 was the best-selling game in March, no surprise there, and it is now the third highest-selling game of the year behind Modern Warfare 2 and frontrunner Hogwarts Legacy. The other new entries on the top 20 monthly software sales chart were MLB The Show 23 at number 3 and WWE 2K23 at number 7, which I bet Sebastian's very happy about that because he likes that one. So, in total, US consumer spending on game hardware, content, and accessories in March was down 5% year over year to $4.6 billion. Year-to-date consumer spending is down 1% compared to the same period in 2022 to $13.6 billion. So, overall, like, consumer spending is down from last year, but Sony's doing way, like, astronomically better than last year. So, hey, you got to see the list of the top 20 games, right, Paul?
For
March. For March. Yeah, for the games.
Like the chart that we're looking at right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it because you sent it to me earlier.
Yeah, so you could kind of see it there. Like,
I think I had talked about how impressed I was that a game like Metroid came back and Skywalker Saga decided to come back from 41 to 20.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, good for them for like showing that they once again have legs, getting some second wind in them. But I wanted to bring a point to the specific data that they mentioned in one of these, kind of clarifying that it's really just for the first 3 months of the calendar year. And I wanted to see if I could let the wind out of the sails just slightly by thinking the only reason that's probably the case is because they literally couldn't happen in any other month bracket. So this is almost like, of course it happened here because PS4 and anything else never really had a big reason to go out and buy systems in January, February, and March, besides like big game releases, obviously. This one it being that's when the systems were even available. So it's almost like, well, okay, that makes more sense in context. So it's not this big... Well, at least what I thought at first when I heard the headline was, oh my gosh, PS5 is selling more than PS4. It's not quite like that for anybody listening. It's more just, well, this is when they showed up, and it happened to be during these months that are really slow for PS4 systems, so that makes sense that they took over so far.
Yeah, I think it's way different. It's like them getting such astronomically high sales in these 3 months where they personally have not put out a game, just kind of shows you that somehow 3 years into this generation, there's still like PS4 momentum heading into the PS5. Like for people that had a PS4 that wanted to upgrade, that the momentum is so significant that Sony, a company that in this entire show I've shit on many times because of how contemptible they've been to us as consumers in a way of like just not making us excited about like their content pipeline, being like perpetually quiet, only like talking and saying stupid stuff for games that are not even theirs, like what's been happening with Call of Duty recently, that somehow all of that, their perpetual silence, them being so stupid throughout last year, that didn't affect at all the fact that once they finally got their crap together with fixing the shortage problems, like to the point where this was the year, especially starting like around December of last year, now into this, where people could finally walk into a damn store, see the thing, and buy it, which was what we're like, which is a funny one. We started the show in May 2021. That wasn't happening. Like no stores were carrying the PS5. They were only selling through online. Like there was like no way for you to be able to just walk into a store, see one, and buy it. Everything was through their online. Through online retail environment. And now that they fixed that, it's like none of that mattered. Like all the crap that they've been doing in this 3 years since this console launched, didn't matter. It's like they've been rewarded by they have had their stupidity, their silence rewarded with how good the PS4 was. That's and that's what it's been. It's like they've just been carrying through like everything that was said before Jim Ryan took over, like in 2019 with PS4, like all that crazy momentum. Is like, just imagine how fast, how much gas in the tank that momentum had. That I feel like if they not had that momentum, like everything that Sony has been doing, like with not talking like the other two companies, opening themselves to be clowned on with things like if Call of Duty goes exclusive, our console is like dead, is like we're gonna go out of business or things like that. And then you see the sales, I'm like, my dudes, you're like trouncing the Xbox like 3-1 at this point. Like this wasn't in this report. Like apparently sales of the Xbox Series X and S went down when this is like tripling. So
man,
in that case was like, well, of course they were gonna be down. Like last year Xbox had nothing, and this year they started with Hi-Fi Rush, which is a game that came and went. Hi-Fi Rush literally just came and went. It was like it was candy. They gave us candy early on, but it's like that's the thing with candy.
I mean, that's just it. It was a short game dressed like an indie. Mm-hmm. So, of course, it wasn't going to hold the public conscience for very long. I mean, the people that love it still love it, but it's not the kind of game for everybody, you know? Because I know a lot of people that bounced off it because it was just like, okay, I get it, but it's not my thing.
Yeah, there's something. Yeah, there's something that apparently like Devil May Cry style combat games, I feel like should be bigger, but they're not. Some people just like straight up don't like that kind of combat.
Some people will avoid it because of that. It's really weird.
Which again makes perfect sense. Like last week when we saw the state of play for Final Fantasy 16, how often were they showing all these different options for like the combat of like this accessibility for this, like you can add this thing to make it easier, things like that. So it's like Square Enix knows that.
I was watching the Maximilian Dude thing, and he was talking to some people in the chat that were like, "Oh, thank God," and I was like, what? Why would you say that? But it just makes sense because some people don't like that breakneck, intense feel of it all. Because I mean, that's the reason why fighting games aren't the biggest genre in the world. You know?
It's like it requires a level of dexterity and precision that so many gamers just don't want to do. And like, I love button mashing myself, especially when a button masher can also feel really tight. That you can create like all these crazy combos instead of just like mashing everything. I feel like that's why DMC is so cool, that you can button mash your way, but it can also be very technical. But some people don't like that technicality. I think that's the reason why Souls games have been like so big in recent styles, because it's reworked the idea of an action game into something more pensive, something more like deliberate, and knowing when to attack and all that, instead of just like button mash. If you button mash your way through an Elden Ring, you're doomed. That's just, you're not going to survive in those kinds of games.
That's a good point.
Yeah, but going back to this, it's like, to me, it's like why this frustrates me is just the fact that having lived through PS2, PS3, PS4, and PS5, and how the PS3 and PS4 generation, especially like the PS3, seeing Sony work so hard at winning me over, like as a consumer, like really being very pro-consumer and showing us different stuff and all that. And even in PS4 early on when they were still winning, but still treating like consumers well by constantly talking, letting you know the things that were coming, doing events and all that. It's like Sony feels so bottomed up now with like Jim Ryan at the helm. It's like it's so corporate, of them not like talking at all, that if it's like it sucks seeing that they're seeing all this success while being the most boring they've been as a company to follow in forever. And the worst part is that they're seeing this success. Why would they change? It's like, why would they ever go back to do like an E3 style conference? Why? They've been selling all of this with them saying nothing. Obviously, I would say that the failure of the PSVR 2 right now could be like a sign of them being like, oh yeah, maybe your silence is not gonna just like have everyone go buy any shit that you put out on the market. But yeah, it's like but then when you see like their main thing, the thing that makes them money, the PS5 is like selling so to the stratosphere, especially if you remember, the PS5 was like ahead of PS4 early on, and then it stalled because that was in 2021 when we were talking about that. It's like, it was insane to be like, man, it's like, it's so damn hard to get this console, but it's still like they're ahead that they were when they were from PS4, when PS4 was relatively easier to find, even though there were shortages, if you remember when you worked at GameStop. But it's like, eventually that was like that caught up to them, and then they were like, oh yeah, we don't see this is gonna we don't think this is gonna be fixed anytime soon. And they were like falling behind. There's like, well, there it is. It's like it finally caught up to them. It's like they better start working smart, because it's like they no longer have that momentum. But it seems that momentum was always there. It just needed them to catch on production. And I tell you, because we were having this conversation in one of our chats, it's like you can really see the marketing that it finally ramped up for them, because it's like, especially when God of War finally got its release date in like mid-July, the marketing blitz we saw of that damn game, the Rick and Morty crossovers, the Ben Stiller That's video they did like of marketing. It's like they're like pushing hard on things like football and all that. Then in January this year, like around playoffs time in football, they did that ESPN style commercial that had all the games, literally everything they have put out so far, and Spider-Man 2 that was like coming soon. And that's where we saw the tease that felt like it was like, is that Uncharted, that had like the female the female adventurer that we thought was like the daughter of Nathan Drake. That was when I knew that they were like, now they're like pushing the consoles, like, no, we have consoles to sell now. Like, you can actually go now. You no longer have to go through the heartbreak. And people were apparently excited. It's like, for all Microsoft has been trying to do the pro consumer thing, and hey, all these games on Game Pass, like, pay $7.50 for you because we share a Game Pass account. Like, you have this plethora of food. It's like,
yeah,
clearly gamers don't care. At least right now, it's like, you can give anyone so much food, but at the end, people like specific food. And Microsoft hasn't had that. And that's sad. And you know what makes it more sad is like, I wanted this generation to be more competitive. Like,
I was hoping so. Yeah, and it's sometimes it feels like the boxing match at the end of Metal Gear Solid 4, where it's just two old men just like but then at the same time, it's, gosh, it just feels like it goes on forever. It's not satisfying anymore, and you feel like one of them is just about to kill the other one, or the only other one just kind of like knocks him off finally and soft punches. Yeah, it's
but at the same time, it's like, you see how much Sony's killing it right now, yet they're acting like scared out of their minds with the whole Activision Blizzard thing.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like they're acting like they're terrified of that going through, even though Microsoft already has moved heaven and earth to promise them, hey, it's like, Call of Duty will still be there. Here's a contract. We're going to give you 10 years of it. Like we've given to everyone, but they've been like throwing fizzy fits at them and all of that. It's like, it just doesn't compute. Maybe it's true that maybe then when Microsoft acquires Activision, and then Call of Duty marketing finally slaps the Xbox logo, like way back when it was the 360 era. I don't know if you remember all the commercials for the Black Ops games and all that had like the Robert Downey Jr. and all that, and it ended with Xbox jump in logo. Maybe that's what they're terrified, that then that's gonna start happening, and then everyone will start defaulting to the other one, even though the game will still be in their system. Maybe that, but it's like, what's the best selling game of this year? Hogwarts Legacy, not a Call of Duty game. So, in fact, like the fact that Modern Warfare 2 is like spot number 4 already, when that was usually number 1, that tells you Modern Warfare 2 didn't resonate with people. It's still being bought because people are still getting in, but many years we always saw Modern, like the Cold War was at the top here, even Vanguard for some reason, but this one, like Call of Duty is like somehow in the wane. It feels like, are you still playing it? No, right?
It's too much. It's above my pay grade. I can't keep up with any of it anyway.
Yeah.
Sony's really struggling to come up with a good reason why they're not winning.
Yeah,
especially now where there's data.
There's data that they're proving it. In fact, I feel this data is gonna absolutely screw them right now. Like absolutely gonna screw them of any debate that they're trying to say that they're, because they clearly are not losing. They're clearly winning. RE4 was promoted on PS5. That was like the best-selling version of that game. Hogwarts also, they had the marketing. They also had the exclusive quest for that thing. It's like they have alliances with so many games that them losing the Call of Duty marketing shouldn't be problematic, because there's so many people that will stay on PlayStation. It's gonna be rare. They're gonna be like, no, I'm gonna go buy an Xbox now. It's like, if it feels like everyone's just gonna stay where they are because they already built their library. So that's what makes their attitude so frustrating, seeing that they're doing so well. Because it's like, when a company usually is not doing well, that's when we get our best stuff, because they're trying to prove a point. But now it's like the market is proving the point for them. Be like, nah, keep doing what you're doing. Just treat your audience with contempt. Like, don't say anything. It's like, because apparently they're all gonna show up. God of War Ragnarok, even though it's number 15 for this month, it's like already sold millions and millions of copies to be like one of the best selling PlayStation games of all time already. So it's like, this generation is really frustrating as a PlayStation fan, I tell you, especially seeing this. I wish that the reality of the sentiment was reflected in the market, but the market usually is different from hardcore places. So, final story, Paul. This broke today. Diablo 4 gets another open beta weekend next month. Story by Marcus Stewart from Game Informer. Diablo 4 may have gone gold, which actually that happened earlier this week. It went gold. Yeah, so that's actually coming out on June 6th. Which, by the way, how nice does it feel that almost every game that we knew was coming in this first 6 months hit? Only one got delayed. We're getting that we cared about got delayed by a month, but it was still in the same period. Jedi. But then everything else is gonna hit.
Oof. It's gonna be rough, but at least they're all holding to it, and we don't have to suffer the disappointment of such.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So continuing that, Blizzard wants to ensure the servers are durable one more time before launch. Thus, it's opening the gates of Sanctuary to players one more time in a third open beta next month. This next test weekend, dubbed Server Slam Weekend, which I love, begins. What is May that 12th? Date? What is that date, Paul?
I don't remember what the significance of it is.
Tears of the Kingdom. It begins.
It was nice.
Yeah, it was nice for a little bit. Yeah. Begins May 12 at 12 p.m. Pacific and ends May 14 at the same time. As the name suggests, Blizzard is running this beta to stress test the servers to make sure they're as sturdy as possible come June. This slice of the game is similar to the March betas in terms of content, but it will include updates and bug fixes garnered from feedback to the previous betas. Server Slam Weekend will be a clean slate as progression from the previous betas does not carry over. Additionally, the beta supports couch co-op, crossplay, and cross-progression. Players can explore Fractured Peaks in its entirety through the prologue and Act 1 complete world events and face Ashaba, the toughest available world boss. Completing challenges can earn the following new rewards. The initial casualty title, earned by reaching Kayavashad with one character. The early Voyager title, earned by reaching level 20 and one character. The Beta Wolf Pack cosmetic, earned by reaching level 20 with one character. And a new reward, the Cry of Ashaba Mount trophy, earned by defeating Ashaba with one level 20 character. Diablo 4 launches on June 6th for PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. So, I will say this, like, it's interesting that they were doing another beta. This is the third one already in like 2 months. They're really confident and just keep like putting this game out in the wild. And I tell you, because I didn't talk about it in what we've been playing when it came out that week. It's like Diablo 4 was so damn good. Like, for that kind of game, it was like they're freaking nailing it. This feels right. It's like this thing's gonna be a monster. It's like we're about to enter 2 months where every game that comes out, Paul, is gonna be monsters in a way that I haven't seen in like forever.
It's not just big yearly releases. It's games that stay around for like the next 10 years that people will come back to for a while. Yeah. I mean, golly, it's the next big Street Fighter. It's the next big Diablo. It's the next Legend of Zelda.
Exactly. The next big Final Fantasy.
The next big Final Fantasy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like these are the big releases, not just this is that cool new thing coming out this year.
Yeah, and I feel like the only ones that could have potentially fade after like an initial like a burst is both Jedi Survivor and Final Fantasy. Like the two games that are going to be big. It's going to be big for us. It's going to be big for like the industry. But these are the other games that we've seen. I sent you a video of Breath of the Wild today. It's like the kind of crap that still pops up for that game 6 years after its original release, and how they're being given the tools of the kingdom and tears of the kingdom to be able to be more crazy. We're going to be seeing that game a lot. Same with Diablo 4. Like, these are ongoing games that are going to be so huge. And I will say that the date they chose for this for the Server Slam, why not 2 days before, guys? The 10th to the 12th? Just say, but here's the thing, maybe their thought is like, Diablo is not on Switch. So people that have Switch will be playing that, and people that really want to play Diablo can play it on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. But I also feel like Zelda is like such a monumental game that makes even owners of the other system like actually put some time in their secondary Switch system. So maybe they're not gonna get as slammed as they're. But I tell you, like the betas, they got slammed. In fact, the second one, when it went open beta, when I tried playing, I waited on an hour queue to get in. I had to put the game in as I was like doing some work and all that. So there is actually legit excitement about it. They're beta testing Diablo 4 in a way they never did Diablo 3. We know Diablo 3 was legendary with its Error 37 launch state from back in 2012. So, and they said that they didn't need to beta test back then because it was like, we've been working for 12 years with this game. It's like, it's coming out because we said it's ready now, so don't worry. And then it launched, it was like, the game didn't work at launch. It was like, it was so funny. That was like, they ate crow on that one on top of like all the crap that Diablo 3 had. But this is gonna be big. It's like the excitement I've been seeing of this game, Paul. It's like, we're about to, this next 2 months, I tell you, it's like, this is the calm before the storm. We always were say, I remember when we started the show way back in 2020, when we were like, we're so close to release tsunami. Remember, it was like in a small period of time, we were gonna get like Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy 7 remake, RE3 remake, and then Cyberpunk, and then like a bunch of those got delayed, and then that happened in the middle of a pandemic, and that felt.
But this is actually gonna happen.
Yeah, this feels like a tsunami. This actually feels like finally the moment this console generation has been waiting. Like everyone that loves big games, guess what? These are the big games. Imagine if Elden Ring had been this year also, on top of all of this. We would have all combusted.
I wouldn't have been able to handle that. I would have I would have started Elden Ring and then realized how much that was going to obsess me. And then I don't think I would have been able to keep up with anything else after that.
Yeah.
And I don't think it would have actually allowed me to enjoy anything that came after it first. It was like whatever hit first is what is going to be. So I'm kind of glad that it's Jedi Survivor first, where we can just kind of get that knocked out, really enjoy it, and then Tears of the Kingdom right after.
Yeah. I'm so glad that I dipped out of Redfall, because Redfall was going to be like a few days after Jedi Survivor. But they basically gave us an out. Hey, we're patching 60 frames afterward. I'm like, hey, that's a first-person shooter. I'm going to wait. I don't need to play it in FPS in the year of our Lord 2023 at 30 FPS. So yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm glad that got turned away, and also because I'm reviewing Jedi Survivor, so I'm gonna see that game like through completion. I've never got a code, unfortunately, so that's never we're gonna play it together. so let's see how long that is. It's like oh great, my dog is there.
There's that dog.
Yeah, all the time near the end. But by the way, with Jedi Survivor, like, just yeah.
Power through, you got it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna power through like 147 gigabytes on PS5. That to me seems wrong. I feel like I tell this, like, as they're gonna be playing on that console, I feel like it should be better. It sounds like they didn't care about optimizing. That's kind of like my read, how I see it, because so often we've seen with games. Obviously, we talked about Jedi Survivor last week that it was 155 gigabytes on PC. That makes sense because many PC games are like that. The PS5 has that Kraken technology. That whatchamacallit, that should be able.
Technology.
Yeah, that's like they call it.
The storage space stuff.
Yeah, that compresses it, and we've seen that. Like, and so many games launch smaller than others. So, God damn it! I don't know what's happening right now. It's like
everything's kind of going crazy for you, but it's weird. That was one of the things that I saw in the Game Ranks video, is that they talked about the Xbox version of it was like in the 40s for the gigabytes. And I know that's nothing like what we've heard since then, where it's still in the like 140 category. It doesn't make any sense, but I am gonna have to repeat all of that for him in just a moment. He doesn't know. Yeah, so basically I saw something on the Game Ranks video that said that it was actually supposed to be only like 40 something gigs, not 140. But now since then, you talked about how it's still a stupidly large downloads
Yeah.
amount. So
Yeah,
I'm
it is
not
stupidly
even
large
sure.
on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X, but this is the rare case where the Series X version is actually smaller than the PS5 version.
Okay, so what I heard was the Series S
Yeah,
then?
yeah, Series S is 44 gigs.
That's what I heard
Yeah,
then. Okay,
yeah,
that is nuts.
yeah, that the S is gonna be like 100 gigs like smaller because it doesn't have to load in like high the high resolution assets.
It's all the textures. Yeah.
Yeah, that to me seems excessive, personally. Like, we'll see when we play it. And
At
definitely can't.
least Call of Duty was smart where they were like, hey, you can choose to download the high HD textures or not, but of course that didn't really help them that much, did it?
Mm,
Um, this means that they made the comparison point that this is more than Red Dead 2. So I'm like, how big is this game actually going to be now?
exactly. That's what I'm wondering. It's like when you're like
God.
bigger, when you're bigger in file size than Red Dead 2, which is still like a stunner, even if it's never gotten a next gen patch.
Yeah.
Like it hasn't. So it's like, man, that's like, is this gonna be like the dream Star Wars game where we're gonna be exploring so many like fully realized worlds, Paul? Because I haven't heard them talk about this as like an open world game, but I know that it's bigger just on the things that we've seen. But
Right, which just makes me wonder why they're not even trying to advertise that because it's
mm,
clearly a big deal
mm,
what they're doing. I mean, just the one planet that we've really seen a lot of
mm,
seems really
bigger.
huge as well. Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's so close now. It's like we don't have to like speculate too much. We're gonna be playing this around the time that we're recording next week. Maybe we could push it for the next day just so we can talk about the game. We could see that, like, record and post on Friday
Yeah.
instead of having to wait a week to talk about it. So, but yeah, it's like Diablo 4. That's gonna be coming. It's like I'm excited for that game to come out. I would be more excited for the Service Land weekend. I've had they said, oh yeah, and this time, god damn it, all the progress is actually carrying over. The fact that the progress from the previous beta is not even in this one is like, that makes it harder to really like dive into a beta, because how often are you gonna be wanting to play the same content over and over and over again with progress that just stalled? In fact, like, to me, ever since I played that Final Fantasy VII remake demo to death back then, and then when we got the game, I didn't want to play it at first because it was like, I have to play all this again, right? It's like there's something that could burn you out early on by giving you access early. I feel like they need to embrace. That's the thing that I love about what Square Enix has done in its majority. Just progress will carry over. That's why we actually bought Stranger of Paradise. That excited me because it's like I picked up right back up
Yeah.
where my demo ended. It's like, yeah, the demos for like progress. Like, you want more people to buy your games? Do that. Give them the taste and know that they can start investing the time, and then they just kind of keep carrying through. It's like, no harm, no foul there. Especially if your game is ready.
Right.
The game's gold, so they could have easily said today, "Hey, the game's gonna come out even earlier," because the game's been done. It feels done. That's how good that beta is. It's like this game feels pristine. So, man, it's like May and June, Paul. It's like this is gonna be the best summer ever for game. For game, I can't think of a better one. Because the last time we got
I definitely can't.
the last time we got a packed summer of games was 2021, and the games we got that year were Village, Mass Effect Legendary Edition, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, then Skyward Sword. It's like we were eating. At least there were games to play, but those felt like, hey, at least these are here. They didn't feel like, oh god, these are like highly anticipated games, like the actual big things. This summer is like unlike any I've seen, and I'm even counting the summers where we got The Last of Us, and that was just one game. We have many, so many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't even continue to talk about all of this stuff without rehashing the same things, but it's just one of those. I just wanted to get here now. I just wanted to start. We keep talking about it, and I'm just ready for it to freaking get here so that we can actually do these things. So, yeah.
And with that, Paul, that ends the news. So, read me what is coming out the week of April 23rd to April 29th.
All right. So, we've got After Image on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC on April 25th. Strayed Lights, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on April 25th. Desta, The Memories Between on Switch and PC on April 26th. Bramble, The Mountain King, coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on April 27th. Kizuna AI, actually, I think it's Kizuna I. Touch the Beat, PlayStation 4, Switch, PlayStation VR, and PC on April 27th. I remember when that was a YouTuber, and she got her own animated show, and now she has a video game, so good for her. Lego Brick Tales on iOS and Android, April 27th. Live Alive, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, PC on April 27th. Omega Strikers on Switch on April 27th. The Last Case of Benedict Fox, excuse me, on Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, and PC on April 27th. That's the Game Pass game that we were both excited about. Of course, coming out the day before Jedi Survivor, but we'll say that in a second. Monster Hunter Rise, Sunbreak, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One expansion on April 28th, and Star Wars Jedi Survivor, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S on PC.
Basically capping the month. This is the us like seeing the rainbow and catching the gold chest at the end.
Yep.
That's for us. But hey, I had forgotten that The Last Case of Benedict Fox, one of the few like games from the last Xbox showcase that looked really interesting that wasn't a AAA game. It's actually coming out on the 27th. It's like bad timing in a way, but I can try it the day before. Like this could be
such a very different game that I think that it'll at least still have its solid following. Something that we could definitely talk to Sebastian about. Have a feeling that he's going to have his finger on that pulse a lot more than we will.
Yeah, especially because
just like you said, with
he's the indie darling. So
with a whole day before Jedi Survivor, it'll probably give us a good enough amount of time to decide whether we like it or not, and something that we can come back to later on. So yeah, we got options.
Yeah, the race to the greatest summer of all starts that Friday, and I can't freaking wait. And the fact that because I'm reviewing it, now I know that I have to force myself to play it also. So it's like, it's not going to be something I'm going to play for a little bit and then play something else like I usually tend to do, which is that, you know, that has become like a problem to me, that I play something and then I go on a tangent, but then come back and still beat the thing.
It's enough that I had to make a meme about it.
Send me a picture so we can show it.
in the recording. Yeah, that's true actually.
Yeah,
I'll find it, but I'm pretty sure it hasn't been a long time since I've used it last.
Yeah, I think it was when I was deciding to go back to Hogwarts. Remember that one time when I was like, I beat RE4. Yeah. It's like I beat all the big games. Hogwarts is the one that's missing, and then I started playing something else. But then I was like, no, I'm gonna finish Hogwarts, and I did. And it's unlike last year where we had so many games we bought early on in that period that then we didn't finish, like Dying Light 2, Ghost of Art Tokyo, Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. That technically we had those games to sustain us in the massive drought that we suffered in our post Elden Ring world. But Elden Ring ruined games for me for a while. Like it totally did, and I was glad that I beat Horizon by then. But even then, it's like Elden Ring like absorbed all the oxygen. I don't feel any of these games is gonna be like the one Elden Ring. I feel that they're all kind of like in equal high importance, and that's even more exciting because there's choice. Last year it was like, if you were not like big on Elden Ring, which it was like all the oxygen, it was like everything else was there, but it didn't feel like there was excitement around that, considering Elden Ring was just like the king, like reigning supreme then. So
there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and I forgot, like, because we're recording today in 420. Happy Bong Day, people, and also happy 5th birthday, God of War 2018. So if it wasn't for you, God of War, I wouldn't be here playing or recording a show, because that was a game that re-kicked me. Like I keep saying it re-kickstarted my love for gaming again. So I will always appreciate it. I still don't know, Paul, even right now, if I like 2018 or Ragnarok better. It's interesting. Like I'm in that spot now. Now that we're like removed from Ragnarok a little bit, and now this one, one definitely has better stuff, but I think the other one was more impactful. But one day, like I'll play both of them again. Like
That's the cool thing. If it was more impactful to you as it is, then that one can forever be for that reason, and nobody can ever
Take
really
that from me.
fight that, honestly.
Exactly. So, and they're both excellent games. Like absolutely both excellent games. So, we'll see whenever we see God of War again. But yeah, I can't wait for Survivor. And in the meantime, just gonna be still like indulging in Star Wars. So, Paul, where can people find you?
As always, you can find me at Dork of Art on Twitter. I just went through the last 2 months of being in a caveman situation, and I was able to post every instance of either breaking a game or doing something crazy in a game that I saved to my hard drive.
Yeah, that Hogwarts Legacy one had been hysterics. That moonwalk thing, like after he was like trying to like animate to like its final position after you deleted the belt. None of that happened to me. None of that happened to me.
Ultimate fight ending up with a moonwalking, backwards flying dragon like I was in Skyrim. I didn't even hate it. It was hilarious. It made like a legit audible laugh out of me.
Yeah, but I see that and the rubber banding from a video you posted before, like your travels when you were playing that.
Right.
And I understand why you were like nudging on your nose when I was like saying like this game was like the new benchmark for me from a presentational.
Because my experience was so vastly different, but now of course it's changed. It's just one of the issues of, are you going to be an early player, not enjoyer, early player, or wait till all of the stuff gets fixed, essentially.
I got lucky. I definitely got lucky because I experienced a pretty pristine game compared to I sent you the few times that game broke, like quote unquote broke for me. The one time that I jumped into the hippogriff or whatever that horses, and then like the entire Hogwarts like thing disappeared because I like jumped into the horse like in a very specific like game breaking moment, but then it just loaded back up. And then one time where in the caves, like my frame rate plummeted into a slideshow for like 5 seconds, but that was it. That was like the rest of that game, like the 35 hours I spent on that game, clean. I had more trouble with Jedi Fallen Order, as I sent you so many of those clips of that game being janky AF, which was thanks to being played in an M.2 SSD that I installed, not the main SSD of the PS5. So I tell you, Paul, I'm holding myself from trying to play Jedi Fallen Order again. I kind of want to do another run for some reason. Like, I need to not burn myself before we get Survivor, but that's the kind of kick I am having with Star Wars. But yeah, you can find you at Dork of Art on Twitter and YouTube. Do you still have things on YouTube there?
I sometimes post things to YouTube whenever it doesn't work on Twitter, but I don't know. Sometimes. Yeah. But it's the Dork of Art again, if you ever want to go find it.
Yeah. And me, I'm at A_George Segovia on Twitter, which everyone lost their blue checks if they're not paying the $8 this time, which is funny. I'm Alejandro Segovia 93 on Instagram, and my written content currently at theseasongaming.com. So, Paul, nothing else for this week. Let's go back and play more games as we wait for the big one for us. I'll see you.
Yes, indeed.
I'll see you next week. And everyone that listens to our show, we thank you so much always for listening. There in the audio that I always keep seeing that it keeps growing. I always a shout out for our listeners that we know of from our clan that always listen. Like we got confirmation that they actually listened to last week's episode and they received a shout out. So always shout out to Aussie, Mano, Spartan, Duchess that we know like listening. We'll see when we get Duchess back, because he said that he wanted to maybe schedule his days off around the time we record to potentially be more often here. I definitely want to bring him in more when we know there's more meaningful stuff that we can have him in instead of just kind of bring him.
I would definitely love to have them in. I mean, back when I first started it and told them about it, they were super supportive when everyone else was just like, why would you do that with your time? And so, like, Duncan's one of the smartest people that I know, so it's really nice to actually be able to like sit back and let them just let fly with the information. Yeah, like the TED talk he gave us on the PC specs of the PC that we got from PC. Was like, I was like, I don't know what any of that means. Exactly. So when I know there's gonna be technical stuff that could break in, like that's when I want to bring them in. So. And then eventually, like Sebastian, like he's always welcome back. Like whenever there's a big one, he said that he wanted me back for whenever I want to talk to about Jedi Survivor. Maybe you can join in as well for that one for his show, or vice versa for that. So I mean, kind of like similar like the Hogwarts episode
this time I'm gonna make sure that we're all in equal playing field, not just two, and just me being like a listener there. So, but enough of that. So, and we're done. And everyone, stay healthy, stay safe, and play some games. Enjoy the rest of the rest of this month, and
Press X
to play.
Good night, everybody.
Hasta la vista, baby.